Hello students, this is Jayapai speaking. In this class, let us study something about instrumental method of analysis in general and conductometry in particular. Under this, we are going to study principle, instrumentation and a few cases of conductometric titrations. In the previous class, we discussed something about colorimetry, principle and we also discussed something about colorimetric determination of copper. Assuming that whatever you studied in the previous class, you have practiced enough. Moving on to a new concept here, that is conductometry. Now what is conductance? In a lower classes you have studied conductance is nothing but the ability of the solution to allow electricity to pass through it. Conductance is also the ease with which the current flows through the solution. Conductance is also the ease with which the current flows through the solution. It is nothing but reciprocal of resistance. Conductance is nothing but the reciprocal of resistance. Mathematically, C equal to 1 by R. Since R is expressed in ohms, conductance is expressed in per ohm or mho. It is also expressed in Simon. Moving on, the principle. The conductance of the solution is best explained by Ohm's law. Ohm's law you have studied in greater detail in lower classes. According to Ohm's law, the current flowing through the conductor is directly proportional to the voltage across the conductor and inversely proportional to the resistance of the conductor. The current passing through the conductor is directly proportional to the voltage across the conductor and inversely proportional to the resistance of the conductor. So I equal to E by R, or E equal to I into R, where I is the current passing through the conductor, E is the voltage across the conductor, that is EMF, and R is the resistance. The resistance offered by the conductor to the flow of current is directly proportional to the length of the conductor and inversely proportional to the area of cross section of the conductor. The resistance offered by the conductor to the flow of current is directly proportional to its length and inversely proportional to its area of cross section. That is, R is proportional to L by A, or R is equal to S into L by A, where S is the specific resistance, and we know that conductance is 1 by R, that is reciprocal of resistance. So substituting the same, we get conductance C equal to 1 by S into A by L. So conductance C equal to 1 by S is reciprocal of specific resistance, that is nothing but specific conductance. So K is a specific conductance into A by L. Suppose A equal to 1 centimeter square and L equal to 1 centimeter. In that case, C becomes equal to K. So in the diagram also, this is the conducting material of length L and area of cross section A. The resistance offered by this conductor to the flow of current is directly proportional to the length and inversely proportional to the area. That means with the increase in the length of the conductor, the resistance offered by the conductor to the flow of current increases. As the area of cross section increases, then the length resistance offered by the conductor to the flow of current decreases. Now let us define this specific conductance in the case of a solution. How we can define? So specific conductance is defined as the conductance of the solution, because K is equal to C when A equal to 1 centimeter square and L is equal to 1 centimeter. Suppose we are defining this specific conductance for any solution. In that case, it is the conductance of the solution which is placed between two electrodes of area 1 centimeter square and 1 centimeter apart. That is something like this. Just imagine that these shaded region represents a electrode. So there are two electrodes kept parallel here. They are of area 1 centimeter square each, and they are separated by a distance 1 centimeter. So imagine there is a solution inside this cube. If you join all these vertices, then you get a cube. And just imagine the solution inside this cube, where the solution is placed between two electrodes of area 1 centimeter square and separated by a distance of 1 centimeter. Then the conductance of that solution is known as specific conductance. Types of conductance. There are three different types. Specific conductance already explained. Then two more, equivalent conductance and molar conductance. Now equivalent conductance is nothing but the conductance of the solution containing 1 gram equivalent weight of the electrolyte. So conductance due to 1 gram equivalent weight of the electrolyte is called equivalent conductance or equivalence conductance. Molar conductance is nothing but it is a conductance of the solution containing 1 gram molecular weight of the electrolyte, or it is a conductance due to 1 mole of the electrolyte. Moving on, the conductance of the solution largely depends on the following factors. First one, the mobility of ions in the solution, because electrical conductance, electrolytic conductance mainly depends on the following factors, because in this session we are dealing more with the electrolytic conduction, not electronic conduction. Therefore, conductance of the solution depends on mobility of the ions. Mobility means the speed with which the ions move. That mobility also depends on the size of the ions. If the size is small, means the mobility is high. Then conductance depends on the number of ions as well, and conductance also depends on temperature. So the factors which determine the conductance are nothing but number of ions, mobility of ions, size of ions, temperature. Now higher the mobility, higher the conductance. If the ions have high mobility, then conductance is high. Larger the number of ions, higher the conductance. If more ions are there in the solution, then conductance is high. Smaller the size of the ion, higher the conductance. Size of the ion is small, means it contributes more for conductance. Higher the temperature, higher the conductance. So these are the factors and how exactly they influence the conductance. So higher the mobility of the ions, higher the conductance. Larger the number of ions, higher the conductance. Smaller the size of the ion, higher the conductance. Higher the temperature, higher the conductance. Now let us see something about conductometric titrations and instrumentation part. In the conductometric titrations you have done in the laboratory, so it is easy for me to make you understand. Here you are using one burette. In that you are taking a suitable titrant. Most of the times we take sodium hydroxide. Whatever cases we discuss here, in that we are taking sodium hydroxide as the titrant, and we are taking one suitable acid in the beaker. It could be hydrochloric acid, it could be acetic acid, it could be the mixture of both. And this is the conductivity cell. Conductivity cell consists of two platinum electrodes. They are separated by a distance of 1 centimeter, and their area of cross section of each electrode being 1 centimeter square. So when it is dipped in the solution, it measures a specific conductance of the solution. So this is nothing but conductivity cell. It consists of two platinum electrodes separated by a distance of 1 centimeter and area of cross section of each electrode being 1 centimeter square. So it measures specific conductance of the solution, and it is connected to the conductivity meter. Whatever value, whatever conductance it measures, the value gets displayed here. So that we are noting down as the conductance of the solution. And this is actual experimental setup. In the beaker you have to take the solution, and this is the conductivity cell that is connected to the conductivity meter, and this is the display here. Here the value gets displayed. Okay. Moving on, the mode of titration. We are going to discuss 3 different cases of conductometric titrations here. So restricting my lecture only to those 3 kind of titrations, I have given the mode of titration, that is solution taken in the burette is base here. So in all the 3 cases it is a strong base taken, that is sodium hydroxide. Solution taken in the beaker, that is strong acid and or weak acid or mixture of the two. So it is HCl. We can take only HCl in the beaker, we can take only acetic acid in the beaker, or we can take mixture of these two. How the titration is done? Base is added in the increment of 0.5 ml. This is base in the burette. It is added in the increment of 0.5 ml to the acid. And the solution is, after each addition, the solution is stirred well and conductance is noted. After each addition of 0.5 ml, the solution is stirred well and corresponding change in the conductance is to be recorded from the instrument. And procedure is continued until the conductance is more or less the same as it was in the beginning. So what is initial conductance we are recording? Then we are going on adding in the increment of 0.5 ml. After each addition, solution is to be stirred well and the change in the conductance is to be recorded from the instrument. So this procedure is continued until the conductance value is more or less the same as it was in the beginning. A graph is plotted by taking conductance versus volume of the base added. The point of intersection of the lines in the graph gives the equivalence point. So this we are going to study when we are dealing with a specific case. Moving on, let us see first strong acid versus strong base titration. So when we are taking this, we are taking hydrochloric acid in the beaker and sodium hydroxide in the burette. Sodium hydroxide is a strong base, hydrochloric acid is also a strong base, strong acid. Hydrochloric acid being strong acid, it undergoes complete ionization. Hydrochloric acid is a strong acid, therefore it undergoes complete ionization in the solution. So we have large number of H plus ions in the solution. In the beginning we have large number of H plus ions. H plus ions are small in size and their number is very large. That is why they are going to contribute more for conductance. Whereas Cl minus ions size is comparatively bigger, therefore their contribution towards conductance is less. So in the beginning stage the conductance is high, that is all due to the large number of H plus ions present in the solution whose size is very small. We have studied if the number of ions more means conductance more, size is small means conductance more. So in the beginning conductance is very high, and that high conductance is due to the large number of H plus ions present in the solution. But when you add base, that is from the burette, so you will be adding Na plus and OH minus and Na plus and OH minus. As soon as you add sodium hydroxide, the OH minus ions from the burette will be reacting with the H plus ions and water is formed. What happens when you add sodium hydroxide? The OH minus ions from the burette added here, they will be reacting with the H plus ions present in the acid and they get converted into water. So that reaction is called a neutralization reaction. As a result, the number of H plus ions count goes on decreasing. As a result, the number of H plus ions goes on decreasing. So when the number of ions decreases, what happens? Conductance also decreases. So what we observe is with the addition of NaOH, conductance goes on decreasing. In other words, the H plus ion present here in the solution is replaced by the Na plus ions of the base. So H plus ions are small in size, they are fast moving. So fast moving H plus ions are replaced by slow moving Na plus ions, and that is why conductance decreases. So first conductance decreases due to the replacement of fast moving H plus ions by slow moving Na plus ions. How long this takes place? This continues until all the H plus ions are completely replaced by Na plus ions. So when one H plus ion is replaced by one Na plus ion, conductance decreases. Like that, when all the H plus ions are replaced by Na plus ions, conductance goes on decreasing and it reaches a minimum value. And once all the H plus ions are completely neutralized, that is all the HCl is converted into NaCl, that is complete neutralization. So after the neutralization point, there is no H plus ions in the solution. Then added NaOH from the burette. Here concentration of OH minus ions goes on increasing because all the H plus ions present here are converted into water or they are completely neutralized. Now if you add excess NaOH, the OH minus ion concentration goes on increasing. When the number of OH minus increases, then conductance increases. Moreover, OH minus ions have high mobility. So at the end point, that is after the neutralization point, that is conductance steeply increases, that is due to the addition of NaOH because of continuous addition of fast moving OH minus ions. So when you draw a graph, that is conductance on the y-axis and volume of the titrant along the x-axis, you get a graph like this. There are two straight lines. The point of intersection of the two straight lines gives the equivalence point or neutralization point or end point of the titration. That gives how much volume of the base is required in order to neutralize the acid completely. Now beyond the equivalence point, conductance always increases, means that is due to the concentration of OH minus ions, because OH minus ion concentration goes on increasing and they are highly mobile. Moving on to another case where weak acid versus strong base titration. In this case, instead of HCl in the beaker, we are taking acetic acid, and in the burette the solution is the same. Since weak acid is taken, we know that weak acid is the weak electrolyte which does not undergo complete ionization. So it undergoes partial ionization in the solution. When it undergoes partial ionization, number of ions in the solution, it will be very less. So there will be limited number of H plus ions in the solution in the beginning. As a result, conductance observed is very low. But on the addition of sodium hydroxide, that is in the increment of 0.5 ml, what happens is these H plus ions react with the OH minus ions and water is formed, and acetate ions react with Na plus ions and sodium acetate is formed. So slowly acetic acid is converted into sodium acetate. Sodium acetate salt is a highly ionizable salt. It is highly conducting salt. Its ability to conduct or its ability to undergo ionization is much higher than that of acetic acid. So acetic acid is a weak electrolyte, it does not undergo complete ionization, and whereas sodium acetate being a strong acid, it's a highly ionizable salt that undergoes complete ionization, producing ions in the solution, more ions in the solution. As a result, conductance slightly increases. So in the beginning, conductance is low due to feeble dissociation of acetic acid, but with the addition of sodium hydroxide, conductance slightly increases, that is due to the formation of a highly ionizable sodium acetate salt. Once all the acetic acid is completely neutralized, then there is no acetic acid in the beaker, then if you continue the addition of sodium hydroxide, conductance increases. That is due to the increase in the concentration of highly mobile OH minus ions. So beyond the equivalence point, conductance steeply increases. That is due to the strong base, especially highly mobile OH minus ions. So in the beginning conductance is low, then conductance slightly increases. That is due to the formation of sodium acetate, because sodium acetate is a highly ionizable salt. Its conducting capacity is more than that of acetic acid. Therefore, there is a slight increase in the conductance. At this point, acetic acid is completely neutralized. There is no acid remaining now. Then if you add base, means conductance increases due to the high concentration of OH minus ions. The point of intersection of the two straight lines gives the equivalence point of the titration. Moving on to the last case, there is the mixture of strong acid and weak acid versus strong base. In this case, the first two cases we are combining, that is hydrochloric acid and acetic acid we are mixing, and then we are titrating against NaOH. So whenever we are taking a mixture, the acid which is stronger always dominates. The strong acid first reacts with the NaOH, and in the strong acid we have large number of H plus ions in the solution, and H plus ions are small in size and their number is larger, and therefore they contribute more for conductance, and hence initial conductance is very high in the beginning. But when you add NaOH from the burette, what happens is the OH minus ions will react with the H plus ions and water is formed. This is called neutralization reaction. As a result, number of H plus ions goes on decreasing, and H plus ions are replaced by Na plus ions, leading to the formation of sodium chloride. So the fast moving H plus ions are replaced by slow moving Na plus ions, and hence conductance decreases. Whenever a fast moving ion is replaced by a slow moving ion, then conductance decreases, because we have studied conductance depends on the size. Larger the size of the ion, smaller the conductance or lower the conductance. Okay, so conductance goes on decreasing until all the H plus ions are completely replaced by Na plus ions, or all the H plus ions are totally converted into water. Next, once this hydrochloric acid is completely neutralized, then it makes an exit in the solution. It won't be there. Next, which acid is there? That is a weak acid. Weak acid does not undergo ionization as long as hydrochloric acid is with it. Means as long as it is in contact with hydrochloric acid, it does not undergo ionization because it is a weak acid. Due to common ion effect, the dissociation of the weak acid decreases, that is in the presence of a strong electrolyte having common ion. So it is a common ion here, H plus. In the case of HCl also you have H plus. Because of the common ion effect, dissociation of the weak electrolyte decreases. But once HCl makes an exit, then slowly acetic acid starts undergoing a dissociation. But due to its poor dissociation, because it is a weak acid, it is showing only feeble dissociation. So hence it gives only limited number of ions, and therefore conductance is not very high. But when you add NaOH, what happens is acetic acid slowly getting converted into sodium acetate, because in the feeble dissociation we have a small number of H plus ions and small number of acetate ions. These H plus ions are reacting with OH minus ions and water is formed. Acetate ions combine with Na plus forming sodium acetate. This I have already told that it is highly ionizable salt, and its ionizing capacity is more than that of acetic acid. As soon as it is formed, conductance starts increasing, that is due to more number of ions. Now conductance increases and it reaches one particular point where all the acetic acid is completely converted into its salt. Now acetic acid is also completely neutralized. Both the acids have made an exit in the solution or from the solution, and now acid is not there in the beaker. Now if you add sodium hydroxide, the concentration of OH minus ion goes on increasing in the solution, and you know that when number of OH minus ions increases, moreover these OH minus ions are highly mobile, and these two factors contribute for high conductance. Therefore, towards the end there is a steep increase in the conductance, and it is attributed to large concentration of OH minus ions. Now let us see the graph. When you plot conductance versus volume of base added, you get three straight lines like this. That is first straight line, that is reaction of strong acid with the stronger base, that is HCl versus NaOH. Initially conductance is high due to large number of small H plus ions, fast moving, but when you add NaOH, fast moving H plus ions are replaced by slow moving Na plus ions, so number of H plus ions goes on decreasing and conductance goes on decreasing, and it reaches a minimum point where H plus ions are completely converted into water, or all H plus ions are replaced by Na plus ions. Now we say that at this point hydrochloric acid is completely neutralized. Next, the weak acid present starts undergoing a reaction. It starts undergoing dissociation. Now because it is a weak acid, it does not produce a large number of ions. It will undergo only feeble dissociation, producing limited number of H plus ions. When we add NaOH, OH minus will react with H plus and water is formed, and acetate ions will react with Na plus ions, forming sodium acetate. Sodium acetate is a highly conducting salt, and it has high ionizing capacity, and therefore number of ions in the solution increases and slightly conductance increases. At this point all the acetic acid is completely converted into sodium acetate. So we say that at this point both the acids are neutralized, and beyond this point don't have any acid in the beaker. So you don't have any acid in the beaker beyond the equivalence point, this second equivalence point. Now if you add NaOH, conductance steeply increases, and this is all due to highly mobile OH minus ions of the base. Now the point of intersection of the first two straight lines gives how much volume of NaOH is required to neutralize only hydrochloric acid. The second point of intersection, that is point of intersection of second and the third line, it gives how much volume of NaOH is required to neutralize both the acids, that is you can say to neutralize acid mixture. Now if you take this one as V1 and this one as V2, now V2 is greater than V1 because V2 is the volume of NaOH required to neutralize both the acids. V1 is the volume of NaOH required to neutralize only hydrochloric acid. Now if you subtract V1 from V2, then you get this V2 minus V1. This gives how much volume of NaOH is required to neutralize only weak acid. This experiment you have done, and you have plotted the graph also in the laboratory, and all the theory behind it also you have studied. This is just a repetition for that matter. Now let us see what are the advantages of conductometric titrations. The big advantage is a mixture of acids can be titrated. By traditional methods, or that is titrimetric methods and all, it is not possible to titrate the mixture of acids, and absolutely indicators are not required in the case of conductometric titrations. That is because end point is determined by the point of intersection of the straight lines. Very weak acids which cannot be titrated by traditional methods, but can be done in the case of using a conductometric method, especially weak acids like boric acid, phenol, etc. can be titrated, and it can be used even for a colored solution. This is something about conductometry. Then something about conductometric titrations, and since you already studied all these things in your laboratory, this may be a repetition for you, but in some cases my explanation might have helped you to enrich your knowledge. Hope I have made the things very clear to you. Still, if you have any doubts, means any time you can post your questions here or you can call and get your doubts clarified. Thank you.